I probably, you know, but you know, I have to care for the audience. I won't do that. But I'll find another way to steal that from you. Okay, very good then. So we've talked about chefs here, water for chefs. Let's talk with chefs instead. Let's bring up on stage Paul Newman, the illustrious founder of the SG. I always stumble on the word. The SG2 advocacy.
If you say it wrong, it's the STD.
STD.
No, that's not a good one.
That's not a good one. The Chef's Manifesto as well. Paul.
And I've invited a friend. Can I bring them up?
Please bring your friends up. I'll actually leave the stage.
No, I want you to stay.
You want me to stay?
Of course.
Okay. Let's bring up the chefs then, and I'll stay.
We have a chef with us.
That's wonderful.
And so I thought we should bring a chef in for the conversation.
Let's bring a chef. We always should bring more chefs to the conversations, right?
Exactly. I love that when we were talking about water, we were just talking about flavor. And I think that's so important. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I'll sit down here then.
No, please. Go. Let's go.
I sit here.
Oh, okay. We can sit.
Yeah,
you need to sit. I see
I need to sit here.
You've been standing for some time.
I have, right. And it would be great also if, Paul, I mean, you're the great chef organizer, I'd say, of the planet, and putting them all together and uniting them around the common goals we have. You have this beautiful circle here with all the colors of the, not the STDs, but the SDGs. And please tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So thank you. And it's so great to be back at Sweden Food Tech in the big meet. I love this venue. I loved when you were outside. I remember many years ago being out in the park, in the sunshine, and I'm not sure what's happened today, but it's great to be here. So yeah, we are working with chefs around the world, now in 90 countries, engaging chefs that are working already. So we're not necessarily doing new things with chefs, but what we're doing is helping to connect chefs to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the United Nations has a framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, which every country in the world signed on to in 2015. It creates essentially a roadmap for world leaders, for countries, for businesses, for individuals to address a holistic set of challenges that the world faces. And they're a set, they're not as individual groups. So we work particularly around Goal 2, which is around food, agriculture, and nutrition. But we have to see it in context of all 17 goals. And so we work with chefs to help them to connect the work that they're doing in different parts of the ecosystem, the food system, to this sustainable development plan. And in doing so, help them to learn from one another. So we do a lot of conversations with chefs where they come together, they cook, they engage. We've done that here many times in Sweden. We also then help to interpret and connect science, the latest science, to interpret it into ways in which they can then connect to the plate. Because I think sometimes we talk a lot about food and we forget that chefs are this great connector. They have this amazing ability to construct around flavors, ingredients, dishes that then we eat or don't eat sometimes.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. I think when it comes to chefs, we dub this session the glorious change makers of food. Because I really think that's also something I've learned from you over the years and all the chefs we have been engaging with. It is that we cannot change unless we make things delicious. We need to make all these things that are sustainable and healthy for us delicious, otherwise there will be no change. That means that we need to have someone, an interpreter between the raw ingredients out there and then our palates in a sense, right? And that's where all the chefs come in. And I don't think we appreciate the chefs enough for their enormous, tremendous skill when it comes to dealing with these ingredients. And you know, they're also high voodoo priests of taste, right? And sometimes you wonder when you engage with the chefs, how on earth did they, one, come up with the idea, and two, then implement it? And perhaps we should ask the chef, by the way.
Yeah. So actually, I'm a dentist. I've turned a chef, I would say, a few years ago. And before turning into a chef, I didn't have the same respect as you're talking about. That I used to go to restaurants and I was like, okay, I had the food, it was brilliant, great. And then you move out of the restaurant and you go to another place and that's it. But how much of hard work it goes into like planning a dish and then executing it, and especially when we talk about doing it in the right way, because it does take an extra effort, it does take a lot of planning and getting the right producers, because it's very easy to go to a supermarket and just buy something and execute a menu, but it becomes harder and difficult when you have to think about the local produce as well. But having said that, it is not that difficult. It is doable, and I think with our generations coming up, and when we are sitting at a food tech summit, so we can actually think about that technology is the thing that connects these two things. And of course, chefs aid in this farm to fork scenario that is happening, and we want to aid in it if possible. But if we have the right technologies and we can have people who can help us connect the dots in an easier and a sustainable way, it is not difficult to achieve. And when it comes to, like you said, that our palates are very used to a particular kind of food or the taste that we are looking for. So to regenerate it is where the chef's responsibility becomes even higher and more respectful in that sense. And I am originally from India, so I moved to Norway in 2012. So my journey with food actually began then. So not just thinking about sustainability, but adapting myself to being in a Nordic country, imbibing and using the ingredients that were available and creating my Indian taste palette again. So that has been my journey. So this is what, when I think that, of course, when you think about Norwegian ingredients, you would be like, that with Indian food, it's not possible. No, it is possible. I have used seaweeds with Indian food. I mean, from beetroots to every other root grønnsaker som tilgjengelig I Norge. So you can use all of it. It is possible. It's not difficult. And as I always say, give vegetables a chance. Go to a supermarket, just a little small initiative, take one vegetable at one time, use the whole of vegetable. It is difficult, it sounds very daunting, and it's like, I can't survive on vegetables. I'm a vegetarian, I've been vegetarian all my life, and you can easily survive it. You can infuse so much of flavor and taste into it without even like putting in so much of extra efforts. So it's about, giving it a chance.
But now I have to object here, because what you're talking about, it's not difficult. If I know just take a look at my family.
Yeah.
No way they will do that. No way. They not a chance. But so I think probably we need more chefs out there actually we need to have the professionals in the kitchen.
Yes.
And I think we need probably to have even more chefs become even better at interpreting all these foods out there. Because let's be honest, not all people calling themselves chefs are great innovators.
Yes. So that's where actually we in Chef's Manifesto, I think we are working very hard to actually promote this kind of food and put out recipes and not make it look just fancy, but make it look simple, easily affordable, and executable. That's what we at Chef's Manifesto work. All the chefs are contributing to each other's knowledge. We talk about ingredients. We talk about how we can regenerate, how we can create recipes that will appeal to the people who are being meat eaters for generations, and you kind of need to change that. So that's where we as a team are working towards that goal.
I think it's a lot about inspiration. So I think people will need to be inspired in the right way. And I think, as you say, Johan, it is challenging sometimes because you do have people that kind of are used to a particular thing. The majority of our choices around food are based on cost, convenience, and taste. Taste is important, and I think what we're used to, the flavors that are often not brought out enough. I even had an experience, even just yesterday, where somebody was talking to me and they're like, "Oh, but you shouldn't expect this to taste that good because they said it's because it's from Sweden, and they said we're not known for this kind of product, and then they said it's also very sustainable." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Like, and I think sometimes we have this, it's almost comes from medicine, I think, in many ways, and it'd be interesting where medicine you sometimes have these like eat your medicine, it's good for you, but it doesn't taste good. And for me, I really learnt about this with I was in Peru with Chef Gaston Acurio, and we were in his restaurant. Chef Gaston has really done so much for Peruvian cuisine. And we were doing a dinner there, and the president of Peru was there, and the president used to do some work with UNICEF, with the UNICEF from the UN. And he said, this is what used to happen, is he said you would give the medicine and say, just take your medicine, it's going to be good for you. And he said, this is crazy. We need chefs to come into medicine as well to make the medicine, the things good for you should taste better. The things that are better for our planet should taste better, because flavor is so critical for decision making. No one wants to have a bad like we just talked about water. You don't want bad water. That's why people are willing to pay for it. They're willing to go further. They want something that enhances the experience. And I think chefs are very good at taking these ingredients and creating those experiences that include flavor. I think what we have to do as well is look at cost and convenience and all of these things. And this is where I think the food tech community can play a really key role in terms of making accessibility, looking at affordability, particularly in the current challenges we're facing at the moment globally. I think this is a really interesting marriage.
I think it's also something that's absolutely necessary to happen, because what are we talking about today? 12 plants and 5 animals, that's what's feeding the planet right now. What type of a bland cuisine do we get from that? It's kind of impoverished in a sense. And what do you think? What if we could start using all of those 30,000 known edibles species out there? What would happen then? What type of new cuisines and experiences could we really create?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's absolutely critical. And I think that some of these, like I was in Cali, Colombia at a place called Future Seeds, which is a gene bank that's just been built, the largest in Latin America. Very high tech. They're gathering, just in the beans and pulses space, 33,000 different types of pulses.
Yes.
And they're using them, they're adapting them, crossbreeding between different varieties to improve nutrition, so more iron, more nutrients, to improve climate resilience. And so this is like using less water, growing in different ways with more harsh terrain. Now, when you think about what's going on in our food system at the moment, this is absolutely critical. And so how we can kind of utilize those ingredients, but it's not going to go anywhere if they don't taste good. So if you just grow these things, that's one part of the solution. You've then got to actually turn them into ingredients that that will meet local flavors, meet tastes, and be part of a palate.
But that's interesting, because here chefs are really making big changes now. Take someone like Dan Barber, for instance, in the US, who worked closely with farmers in order to breed new plants for the sake of taste, not just for the size. And I must say, the first time I had one of his beetroots, lightly boiled and smoked on a piece of flat bread with some sour, it's like, that's the best meal I've ever had. It's so ridiculously good out there. So when you talk about things that we have in the Nordic communities, or even in Norway, right? Seaweed and all the other things around us, and you can make that taste exceptionally good. So where will this take us? What's the future? Is perhaps the only thing we'll do in the future is eat, because it's going to be so delicious when the chefs come into the equation.
But I think that's exactly what we want to, actually, because I don't see it as a problem, because, for example, seaweeds, it's actually harvested in a manner that it doesn't really disturb the ecology of any kind of system. So, but using it in the right way, and as you said, like we also had seaweeds yesterday, and using it right and using it with the ingredients that could enhance the whole experience of eating it is what we need to be even more like observative of. And that's what we as chefs have a responsibility of changing the restaurant menus, because that would help us to change the consumer habits. Because I am from Norway and I still go to restaurants and I struggle to have a proper vegetarian meal. So that is something happening. Even when I'm a chef, I still have to have a choice of like one vegetarian burger or maybe some sweet potato fries on somewhere. and that's it, or like a salad. And I'm like, and then people say that, okay, we don't have so many vegetables available in Norway, or we don't have that kind of produce, but we do have a lot of produce, and we can at least do so much with that that is already available, that we can enhance the flavors and take it to the level that everybody can accept it.
Like okay, so when I go to restaurants, it's not very often that I get super blown away.
Yeah.
Most of the restaurant food, to be honest, out there is, at least if you go to mid-scale, mid-level or low-level restaurants, it's kind of the same thing I would have cooked at home.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't have to cook it,
Yeah.
and I don't have to wash up the dishes, right? But if we could empower the chefs to really bring out all those flavors and make every restaurant experience for me into something that's mind-blowing, which I don't think is hard.
It is not, actually.
It's not, right?
No.
Then suddenly we can turn, with the help of chefs, people's appreciation of food into the next level.
Yeah.
So true.
It's absolutely true. And I think, this is something that I think needs to be put more attention on. I think what often happens is we try and address different issues. We try and address them one by one, rather than actually going, how do we think holistically and try and do many things? And I think taste is often misunderstood.
Yes.
And not really given the time to actually bring the right people, and that's chefs, around the table to help develop. And I think when you get it right, you see, instant reaction. I mean, the plate is one place where you get instant feedback. You either have food left at the end of the meal, or you don't. You either have people giving you compliments, or they say nothing.
Yeah.
If they say nothing, it's generally...
It's a bad sign.
It's okay, but
Yeah.
it's not
No,
great.
yeah.
You haven't changed anything. You haven't impressed them.
Yes.
But that's so good that you're here actually impressing, because you're not here for the big meat only. You're also participating in the Stockholm Plus 50. And what you've done that I think is so brilliant is to actually give the chefs a place at the table of policy making, and the politicians out there are actually starting to understand this question a bit more. What are you doing the rest of the week here? Are you heading out now to Stockholm Plus 50? And
Yeah, so we were out yesterday at Stockholm Plus 50, and that's an event that's going on over the 3 days here in Stockholm. There's lots of leaders from around the world here, and lots of different conversations, and food's playing a key part in that conversation now, because food is very much connected to environment. People are starting to really recognize the role that it plays. And so we're involved in all of that. There's also going to be tomorrow the launch of the Eat Lancet 2.0. So we've been involved in kind of the conversations around that, and talking there around what is that going to deliver? Obviously, the first Eat Lancet gave some interesting responses and feedback for us as eaters around what feeding the planet in 2050 is going to look like. Now it's like, what else do we need to know? And so the scientists are here, they're talking, they're preparing to kind of say, what can we be looking into, and what could we do differently? What could we do better in terms of the way we communicate and the way we engage? And so it's important there. Farmers' voices, chef voices, companies are all represented in those conversations. And so it's really key.
Final question here then to you is that, do you feel a lot of hope for the future through food?
Yes, I have a lot of hope. There is, because in one way or the other, I think I have that little power. I wouldn't use the word power, but I would use that, again, the word hope there, because I think I can do so many things with the vegetables, or with the things that I love and I've been growing up with, that I don't see it not being able to be done. I mean, we just need to put it out there more, and I think it is achievable, and I have full hope in a better future.
You too, Paul.
Yeah, look, I'm a very hopeful person. As you know, I'm very optimistic. I actually think at the moment we are in probably one of the biggest challenges we have faced. The crisis that's happening at the moment around food is something unprecedented. I think we need to take that very seriously, but I also think serious challenges create serious opportunity. And so I think there's the opportunity for a great transition away from just a very limited reliance on certain crops to a much more diverse diet, to rethink some of the way our food system works. And I think the food price crisis is actually going to really drive some of those, make more sense for business.
What is this, by the way, I see over there? Someone coming with food? I love food tech conferences. Come up here.
Oh, look
come
at
up
this.
Here. Yeah. Come up here. So let us know, what is it? Do we have a microphone here? So I can hold this plate.
Taste it. You should taste it. It's getting cold.
So what is this?
So this is meat from jackfruit. We have some meatballs and some chorizo. So
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about, Paul, and I think we were in touch
Yeah.
early on in our journey. So my company's called Karana. We make a meat out of jackfruit. So it's all about adding biodiversity into our food system. So this is gluten-free, soy-free. It's jackfruit with a little bit of pea protein. So we focus on fully regenerative crops, scaling supply chains around that, sourced from a network of smallholder regenerative wild farmers in Sri Lanka. They're grown all intercropped.
See, that's why I'm so hopeful. This taste is good.
This tastes amazing.
this is
It is. It's
And-
absolutely
It's actually
lovely.
good.
To show that you can make these kinds of meaty products, delivering that experience. And this is a format, it's just a base meat that can be taken in any direction, blank canvas for chefs to flavor any
If
way
you
they
didn't
want.
tell me this was jackfruit, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have any idea.
Yeah.
But
No.
I could have, because India, we love jackfruit. so that's my exact point, that when this can taste so good and you
I'm
can
gonna eat
eat
more.
really.
Now
yes.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry too.
We
here.
are done for the lunch, thank you.
No, I'm just having this whole plate for myself. That's not
It's
intentional.
showing that you can do this without soy, without wheat, and really scaling different alternative supply chains, expanding what we eat, bringing something new to the table, and giving chefs the opportunity to present it as jackfruit, present it as meat, pork, chorizo, whatever they want, because they know their customers, their audiences.
Yeah.
I think again, chefs, right? Because I've tried to do stuff with,
Wow.
with jackfruit, and I always fail, right?
Mm.
But suddenly, this tastes like three
Well,
stars.
that's the difference between Karana jackfruit, if I can plug our
Yeah.
company. So we make it into meat. Our goal is to make it as user-friendly, versatile, intuitive for chefs. So presented in a format
And
where
where-
they just can take it,
And
work
where
with
are
it
the
just like meat. Yeah,
Where are the jackfruits from?
from
You've
Sri
got-
Lanka.
For Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
No,
Very good.
it's really, really good.
This is really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this panel. Well, thank you for bringing
Thank you
this.
so much.
This is
Yeah, we can
great.
take
I
it
love
then.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. You want to have more?
I don't know. Perhaps someone in the audience would like to have something. It's
Do you want to try?
brilliant. Oh, how I love that. So, sorry for running a little late. Sometimes it's too much fun. Let's go into the future of another